ready to question everything? Tune in. Yo. It's midnight in Missouri. Turn the lights low. Let the truth glow. Robert and Crew. We vibing with you.
KC stars align. Podcast on, we crossing every line. Tartaria towers, hidden in the mist. Hollywood shadows, what they hid on the list. UFOs dancing over Independence Town. JFK whispers, we flip the whole thing round. Crew in the chat, Julie dropping facts. Multiverse theory, we never going back. Synchronizing, truth seekers unite, no compromises. Screens glow purple, feel the energy surge. Robert hit the switch, now we on the verge. Robert and Crew, light up the night. Conspiracy crew, we taking flight. Tartaria dreams in the strobe light flash. Drop the bass, heavy, hear the thunder crash. Robert and Crew, vibe so high. Paranormal flow till the morning sky. From mystery streets to the cosmic unknown. Tuning every week, you ain't alone. Robert and Crew.
Welcome back to the Robert and Crew Show. As always, I'm your host, Robert.
And I'm your co-host, Crew.
And tonight, we're back on the Alien Files.
We sure are.
Sadly, as everybody knows, as we had already addressed this the other day, we do not have a special guest tonight because they backed out last second. But it's all right. We're going to figure things out. We're going to try to find other people. So if you're interested on coming on to the Robert and Crew Show, just send an email to kover27@gmail.com. That was kover27@gmail.com, and just put podcast guest as the memo or whatever, and we will, as the subject headliner, and we'll know what you're talking about. All right, Crew, with that being said, before we get into the Alien Files, I wanted to tell you, I watched the fights tonight, and oh my God, I will tell you, I was not a fan of the first fight. Didn't really care for it very much. It was a good fight, but I didn't care for it very much. The second fight, watching Francis Ngannou win was so dope. He was such a good fighter tonight. It was crazy. Then we had Nate Diaz fighting Perry, and I just feel like Nate got robbed. The only reason the fight got stopped was because Nate was literally bleeding everywhere. He didn't want the fight to stop, but he had a giant gash above his head right here, and it just kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, and literally the entire ring, the whole MMA ring was filled with blood. And Perry and the other dude was covered in Diaz's blood. It was crazy. And then, of course, we had Ronda Rousey versus Carano. And Ronda Rousey literally ended the match, first round, 17 seconds in, with an armbar. She's back. She says this was her last fight. And she went out. She beat a legend. Regardless, Carano had not been in MMA or fighting for 17 years, but Ronda Rousey hadn't been in fighting or that kind of fighting for 10 years. So was pretty insane. Did you check out the fight?
No, sadly, no. But I saw the hype for that fight for a while, and I was like, a movie star versus a legend. Let's see how well this turns out.
Well, Ronda Rousey beat the crap out of, or didn't even have to beat the crap out of Carano. Got her in an arm bar and almost broke her arm, and she tapped. 17 seconds. She beat Carano in 17 seconds. How insane!
Right.
What's going
That's
on,
insane.
Julie? I hope you're having a good night tonight. We're back on the Alien Files tonight, guys.
Yep, that we sure are.
So, to get this kicked off, I thought maybe we'd go through some of these documents you sent over.
Okay.
Let's check these out. Can everybody see that on the screen? Okay.
Yep, we sure can.
All right. So this obviously says FBI Central Records Center, HQ headquarters, and obviously it says it's confidential. We're going down here to the Office Memorandum of the United States Government. Zoom this in a little bit. Can you read this, bro?
Barely.
Barely.
Yeah. Okay. On July 15th, 1949, the Office of the Assistant Chief of Staff, G2, 4th
Fourth Army.
Army, advised that a small article which had appeared in the Galveston, Texas News on July 10th, 1949, advertised the fact that the Young Men's Business Club of Alexandria, Louisiana, announced that it was planning a convention for persons from all over the nation who have seen flying saucers. It was stated that the convention was planned so that members may compare notes. It was also stated that flying discs were reported twice in the week
preceding
the article in Alexandria, Louisiana. This above is furnished as a matter of information.
New Orleans. All right. So,
and that we can't read.
So it says, Officer of Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States Department of Justice, record of telephone call or visitor, flying saucers, Mr. Ernest Cunyo from New York City, hour 10:54 a.m., July 11th, 1949. Then informed of Mr. Hoover's and Mr. Ladd's absence from their office, Mr. Cunyo declined to speak to anyone else and stated that he was just following up on a conversation he had with Mr. Ladd over the weekend. He asked that Mr. Ladd be informed of his call. In the record telephone call or visitor, Ernest Cunyo remarks, when informed that Mr. Hoover was not in his office, this is the same thing. Mr. Ladd advises that Mr. Cunyo was calling about the matter that he discussed with Mr. Ladd on last Saturday, re a flying saucer in California. Mr. Cunyo asked if he could release the story. He was told that this was up to him. What's Shane done? Huh, that's weird. What's Shane done?
I don't know.
That says done, right?
I think so, yeah.
D-O-N-E? Yeah, weird. Received Ladd, FBI, U.S. Department of Justice. August 5th, received Fletcher, July 12th, 7:56 p.m. July 21st, 1949, Mr. Ernest Cuneo, 40 Wall Street, New York, New York. Dear Ernie, you will recall the telephone conversations about Mr. Peter Cameron Jones. I think it's Cameron, but Cameron on Jones. 164 West 37th Street, Los Angeles, 7 California, and information furnished by him on the subject of flying saucers. I thought you would like to know that efforts made to locate Mr. Jones have been unsuccessful, and casual inquiry in the vicinity he mentioned did not develop information about anyone who was acquainted with him. I thought you might wish to consider the possibility that the original letter in the matter may have been a prank. Sincerely yours. So he's stating that he thinks the original report of the UFO was a prank.
Mm.
All right. This one you can read.
Office Memorandum, United States Government, date July 12, 1949. The director from D.M. Ladd. Subject. You inquired us to what was being done with reference to the information concerning flying saucers, which information was furnished by Ernest Cuneo.
Yeah, Ernest Cuneo.
Cuneo. Okay. I desire to advise that a letter is being prepared for the Los Angeles office suggesting that they make a discreet check of the background of the individual who wrote the letter to Finchel.
Yeah, to Winchell.
Okay, I thought it said Finchel. Thank you for that. I couldn't tell clearly. And thereafter, interview him for details. It is believed that a letter is satisfactory.
I think it's supposed to say in as much,
yeah, as it was noted that this alleged incident occurred in 1947. And then I could not read that, Curtis.
Says this should have been done the something thing Monday instead of wanting or waiting until Wednesday to get it done. Okay, so they're upset that it didn't get done on Wednesday instead of Monday. Weird.
Right.
All right, this is July 18th, 1949, SAC, Los Angeles. Peter Cameron Jones, information concerning Rimitel, July 12 last. Sutel results, your background investigation and interview of subject, Hoover. So I'm thinking that Hoover's got to be J. Edgar Hoover, right? The leader of the FBI at that time.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. It's just on a different paper.
Yeah.
Federal Bureau of Investigation, 7/20/1949. Director, Mr. Nicholas. For appropriate action, note in return. Prepare note to something today. Okay. All right. Federal Bureau of Investigation, United States Department of Justice, Los Angeles 13th, California, July 13, 1949. Peter Cameron Jones, information concerning Dear Sir, re your teletype July 12th, 1949, present owner for 1.5 years and former manager of court for 6 years, which includes 164 West 37th Street, Los Angeles, do not know Peter Camerlon Jones. Other investigation in the endeavor to locate Jones was not productive. Very truly yours, R.B. Hood. So they're trying to locate this Mr. Peter Camerlon Jones because, so I take it Mr. Peter Camerlon Jones is the one who originally saw the flying saucers, and they're looking for him, but they cannot find him.
Right.
Interesting. Here we go. Federal Bureau of Investigations, United States Department of Justice, routine July 12th, 1949, to the communications section. Transmit the following message to 37th Street, Los Angeles. Information concerning subject addressed a letter to Walter Winchell relating that in August 1947, he was hiking in the mountains out of LA and observed about 1/2 block away from him a large silver metal object shaped like a child's top, about the size of a balloon. Holy crap. He gained the impression there was life within the object, though he saw no one. He stood up and waved towards the object, and within a second it took off, knocking him to the ground. Discreetly check background of Jones, thereafter interview him for the purpose of determining any facts in his possession concerning the statements set out herein. Hoover. So this guy saw this guy saw a object that was the size of a balloon that looked like a child's top, and it was a metal silver shaped object. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, here you go. This is all you.
I took a call from Ernest Cunyo by reference from your office. He referred to his call of last Saturday relative to a letter Mr. Winchell receives from a man in Los Angeles concerning flying saucers. He stated that Winchell wanted to do a column on this letter if the Bureau had no objection. I told him that whatever he did with reference to writing this story concerning this letter was entirely up to him and would
in no way.
Man, they really need to like
They were bad at they were bad at using a typewriter, right?
Yeah. Would in no way
affect
anything the Bureau was doing. I suggest that he might desire to check with the Air Corps in as much as the handling of flying saucers was a matter of primary interest to them. He stated, to hell with the Air Force. He just didn't want to release the information if it would affect the Bureau. All right. They really, okay, I'm sorry, but their writing was horrible back then.
Dude, I know. Like these people are supposed to be like leaders of the FBI and like different parts of the FBI, and they can't even use a typewriter correctly.
Right. That's just wow. Okay.
Right. I mean, I bet they like are right. They're probably writing this stuff up super fast, and they don't even think about it because a lot of them probably were like, "This is bullshit." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this one says office memorandum to the United States government to the director from Mr. Ladd, subject flying saucers. The date was July 9th, 1949. Ernest Cuneo advised that Walter Winchell had received a letter from Peter Camerlin Jones, 164 West 37th Street, Los Angeles 7, California. Mr. Cuneo read the letter to me, and it was very well written, obviously by a man of intelligence. In this letter, Jones stated that in August of 1947, he left Los Angeles for the mountains and started hiking through the mountains. About 10 a.m., he was laying on the ground when he observed about 1/2 block away a large silver metal, greenish in color, shaped like child's top, and about the size of the balloons used at county fairs. He stated that there appeared to be 2 windows in the object, and portions of metal appeared to be transparent. That he gained the impression that there was some life within this object. Although he saw no persons, the object appeared as though sealed a pressure chamber. He stood up and waved towards this object, and this so-called flying saucer was off the ground in a second, knocking Jones to the ground. In its flight, he stated that its power was silent and raised the question to whether this was an interglobal landing on our planet. He thought that it might be a device to land in our planet because the occupants of another planet had become curious as the reaction caused by the explosion of the atomic bomb causing trouble in an expanded universe. He asked the question as to whether it was possible that the occupants of another planet might have solved the theory of negative gravity. Mr. Cuneo stated that this letter indicated a very good knowledge of physics and that he thought it would be interesting to check into Jones's background and then possibly interview him about this alleged flying saucer. Mr. Cuneo stated that it would appear that Jones may have actually seen a flying saucer, that in any event it made an awfully good story, and he requested that the Bureau keep the matter in confidence. I would recommend that the Los Angeles office discreetly check into the background of Jones and thereafter interview him for the purpose of determining any facts he possesses about flying saucers in order that it may be determined whether his story is in any way accurate. So they're trying to figure out if this man, Mr. Cuneo, is lying. A Federal Bureau of Investigation, Division 4, Miss Gandy. And then there's nothing else except a signature. Okay, Federal Bureau of Investigation, U.S. Department of Justice, Communications Section, July 18th, 1949, telemeter. Wash 2 from Los Angeles, 10:35 a.m., Director Urgent. Peter Camerlin Jones, info concerning Reurtel, July 18, efforts to identify or locate Jones are negative. They still can't find Mr. Jones. Confidential, issued by the Intelligence Division's Office of Chief Naval Operations, Navy Department Intelligence Report. Flying discs. From DIOLIND, San Diego, date the 23rd, 1969. Reference CSO Conference SAR 0422P32 D&D-B, November 1948. Subject flying discs. Report of source see below. Evaluation B3. Subject unidentified flying objects report. Brief. While flying north in a private plane, source and flying. God damn, these are terrible. While flying north in a private plane, I believe that says occurs who, or I don't know. I think it's a name, but I can't read it because it's so crappily put together. Who is believed to be reliable. Nav 6 or 7 flying discs in Southern Oregon on the 27th of May, 1949. The discs are described as elongated ovals, perhaps 201 inches in length. They flew in an already or a steady file formation at between 200 and 250 miles per hour. They appeared to be made of unpainted metal. No smoke or exhaust trails were observed. Source: Lieutenant J.G. Joseph C. Shell, A56 USNR inactive, serial number 348375 of 4575 North Bridge Drive, Los Angeles, California. He was commissioned and signed 5th January of 1944, served at Corpus Christi for 30 days, APT in Dallas, 2 months, ferried something from North American Company plants, was at Willow Grove, Pennsylvania for 30 days, served at Cheeks Out. I don't know. Cheeks Out. Yeah. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what this says.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Base for Ferry Squadron, VRF, at Columbus, served at Columbus until August 1945. Sources then was with VRF 3 at Terminal Island, California, where he has become legal and personal officer, was discharged from the Navy in January of 1946 as a lieutenant. Source: holds Naval Aviator Certificate. Can't read. Pilot's rating and ferry landing of the Naval Air Transport Command. He also holds a commercial license, single and multi-singles, and flight instructors ratings. Something flight times began in 1934. Something totals over 5,000 hours, of which time 1,300 hours were in the U.S. Navy. Sources: secured a private license in 1935 and a transport license in 1937, a commercial pilot's license in 1938, and a commercial pilot's license in 1945. From March 1942 to September 1943, he was flight instructor for the Army Air Force, 5 months as primary instructor at Cal Aero, and the balance of time as basic instructor at Lancaster, California, from September 1943 to January 1944. No flaw for the Superior. No flew. Wow. How about we say did not fly for Superior Oil Company of California? No flew. Wow, that is really, really bad English. Since 1940, Source has been vice president of his Royal Petroleum Company of California, Long Beach, a concern in which he and his relatives all at the stake. He is part owner of 3 other oil producing Can't Read in Southern California. Source is married and has 3 children. He has a BOSO and BNO degree from the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, California. He also has had 2 years of law at University of Southern California. Source in 30 years ago. Wow. But appears to have a background of experience. Can't read. His age possesses. He is believed to be conservative. Wow, because that matters. Sincere, absolutely reliable, and very competent. This is some of the worst English I've ever read.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think it's 1940s and people were idiots back then. And
So
all they had were writers.
I know that this will be really hard for you to read, so I'm going to just read this because it's the purple ink still and it's terrible. Subject: unidentified flying objects report of flying objects observed in Oregon on the 27th of May in 1949. On Friday, the 27th, May 1949, Source was flying his own SNJ type aircraft from Rod Bluff, California to Burns, Oregon, a distance of 305 miles. He left Red Bluff at 1332 PST and arrived at Burn at 1458 PST. Elapsed time about 1 hour and 26 minutes. Source landed at Burns after circling the town twice, which he announced about 10 minutes, while the SNJ's normal maximum speed is 170 miles per hour. Sources demilitarized his plane when he had purchased at surplus light ending this plane by about 500 LOS, and it makes around 200 miles per hour true airspeed. This on the flight had made 212 miles per hour ground pond. Source something, he had a tailwind of 15 to 18 miles per hour. Wow. That's terrible English. At 14:25 Pacific Standard Time, Monday 27th, May 49, sources observed the reflecting on an object or objects at a considerable distance ahead, a few points to the starboard. He continued to watch the courses taken by the reflecting material, expecting it to materialize into a conventional aircraft. As the distance lessened between him and the object or objects, objects reached the long bluffs. Something on the basis of aeronautical chart as Hart Mountain, something run for a number of miles along the east side of Cuomo of Bomo Dry Lakes, swamp at Flagstaff, Gampel, and some coral lakes. He saw that instead of a single object, there were several, which seemed to be flying in formation. At this point, the objects appeared to have changed their course and that they were paralleling his course. Southwest to his northeast, and were at a distance which he estimates to have been around 5.5 to 7.5 miles. Sources certain that it could not have been us far as 10 miles something. The bluffs were less than 10 miles away, and he could see the objects outlined against the bluffs. The objects that source were as described by his follower, size of each object considerably smaller than a fighter plane, probably less than 20 feet in length. All separate objects appeared to be the same in size. Shapes of the objects. There was no break in the outline. Source is certain that it would have recognized conventional aircraft. They had solid configuration and no great thickness. They were elongated oval, perhaps twice as long as wide, and perhaps 5 times as long as thick. Source points out his observed the objects from an angle from above and could not quietly estimate their thickness. They could possibly have been egg-shaped and could uncivilly, have been perfectly oval. The objects seemed definitely solid objects. There was nothing ethereal about them. Speed of objects. Source is confident they were traveling at least as fast as Source's planes, 212 miles per hour. Source had a tailwind of 15 to 18 miles per hour, and the objects would therefore have been doing over 230 miles per hour airspeed. The objects were traveling south by southwest, opposite to Source's course. Calculating it, something of the objects, several different ways from the fact at hand. The speed of the objects varies between 190 to 260 miles per hour. Sources concluded at the time of observation that he could not possibly have the tape has redacted that. Around caught up with the objects, they were definitely travel redacted by tape within a group of birds and slower than jet planes. No trail of smoke redacted by tape again. And is observed
their stuff.
Observed the speed of the objects appeared to be steady, and then the rest of that is redacted with the tape. Terrain elevation population. Source flew 9,000. Looks like it says 9,000. Right between 4,000 and 5,000 above terrain. During most of the sides of observation, the objects were 1,000 feet to probably 1,500 feet below Source's plane. Toward the end of sighting, where Sources had begun to something, he was adverse on a level with theirs in altitude. Oh, dude, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yeah, the files, I guess, each file is very long.
So basically, what this is saying is these are more about reports from different people that were flying like private planes and we're catching basically these objects that were spherical shaped or even elongated, like saucer shaped objects that were traveling at around speeds of like 200 to 260 miles per hour, which is insane when you think about it.
Yeah, and UMSA said it's more like field notes and CIA files, classified files. What do you guys think about the different types of UFOs? Could it be different species, or did the UFOs take time to get here and the have evolved over time and sent later and then have came it?
Different objects don't necessarily mean different species, but I would say that, like, for instance, like with new cars these days, they look a lot different than older cars. So maybe, you know, the aliens just built better after a while, or like Elmstead said, they could be different species. Different species could have different forms of flight and different objects that they fly around in.
Yep.
You know, most famously, we had like the Tic Tac shaped metal objects. Then we have the thing like the Boogosphere, which is a cylindrical sphere like metal object. And then you have your traditional flying saucers.
Yeah, and then you have like that rock one that was spotted by the sun.
Yes.
In the middle. That it was like in a hot dog shape, but like longer, and didn't show any like opening. It was just an all like, it was a weirded shape, like I'd say it would be kind of like a smaller form of an asteroid, but you know, they were trying to say it was a quote unquote spaceship.
Right. So this one I can read. It says, Director of the FBI, San Antonio, Protection of Vital Installations. I'm attaching here to a number of copies of reports being received in great numbers in this office concerning the so-called flying discs or unnatural phenomena being frequently observed around Camp Hood, Texas. This is, of course, a primary concern of the Air Corps, Consequently, this office is following the practice of reviewing this data and then destroying them. In the event there appears to be nothing of FBI interest, therein it is pointed out that the filing of these would result in the rapid accumulation of very bulky files. Unless the Bureau believes this is unwise, the practice will continue. This guy says we're getting so many that basically we're going to end up throwing these out because this is absolutely ridiculous on the number of UFO or flying disc files we're accumulating. He even says at the very end of it, he said, it's pointed out that the filing of these would result in the rapid accumulation of a very bulky files. That's funny. Here we go. This one's going to be easy to read. Director urgent. Flying discs. The flying discs. The LA Times, August 20th article date lined Washington, August 19. UP release indicating the U.S. Air Force searching for Jonathan Caldwell, who made flying discs discovered in Marley Park, MD. Info received. J.E. Caldwell, located at 1456 9th Street, Manhattan Beach, California. This info being furnished OSI Maywood Monday, unless advised to the contrary. Huh. Here, so to the communications section, transmit the following message to Flying Discs, Ruraltel, August 30 last. Bureau advising CIA or OSI headquarters. Today of address J.E. Caldwell, Manhattan Beach, California. You should also furnish this address. OSI representative, your division today, Hoover. Huh. Office memorandum. Director of the FBI, Flying Saucers Security Matter. Albert W. Ferris of OSI, Benjamin Harrison Air Base, called at this office recently to ascertain if there was any current information on flying saucers. He stated that he had been instructed recently to contact Dr. Richard K. Parrish of Decatur, Indiana, with reference to a flying saucer he allegedly observed in the vicinity of Lake of the Woods, Canada, on or about July 1st of 1949. An FBI agent by the name of Metcalf of the Omaha office was alleged to have seen the same saucer. Oh, so an FBI agent saw one. And that's what it says. An FBI agent by the name of Metcalf of the Omaha office was alleged to have seen the same saucer. So we have a report from an FBI agent that they saw a flying saucer. How come we don't have that exact report?
Right.
When Ferris conversed with Dr. Parrish, the doctor told him that when he returned from Canada, he found himself in the midst of a polio epidemic, and that was the result. He had read as much literature as possible with respect to polio, its symptoms, diagnosis, etc. Dr. Parrish told Ferris that, in his opinion, the cases which were thought to be polio in the vicinity of Decatur, Indiana, were not polio, but possibly the result of uranium poisoning, and that he felt the presence of flying saucers had direct bearing on the polio epidemic. Whoa, what? Wait a minute. He thinks that the flying saucers poisoned these people in Decatur, Indiana, with uranium poisoning? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Dr. Parrish pointed out that the flying saucers were observed in Carolinas in 1948, and there was a polio epidemic in the vicinity at that time. Holy crap. Ferris stated that he had consulted one of the physicians at the Benjamin Harrison Air Base and had also checked the records with reference to allegations concerning the sighting of flying saucers, and had done a little research with respect to correlating the presence of flying saucers and any polio epidemic. He further stated that he was reporting the matter to the proper Air Force authorities at Wright Field, Daytona, Ohio. It has also come to the attention of his office that Ferris made an inquiry of Indiana University Medical School in Indianapolis, Indiana, where the doctors treated the entire matter as a big joke. Ferris also stated that Dr. Parrish had heard while in Canada that there had been some rather strange events somewhere in the interior with respect to findings what might have been the remains of flying saucers. The foregoing is furnished for the information of the Bureau. This office is taking no action in the matter. Okay, so the FBI said, that's fucking dumb. We're not taking any account to that at all. But this man believes that basically polio epidemics were linked to flying saucers.
Okay.
How insane is that, man?
Very.
So flying saucers were poisoning people with uranium poisoning.
Alrighty.
We went over Caldwell already, Elmsta, and the speed of the objects was like 260 miles per hour. It was 200 to 265 miles per hour. We can look up Aura Canada, but right now we're going to focus on these files so we can get through them.
This is a long ass file.
Well, I think it's multiple files, man. This isn't just one file.
I know. No, it like I said, right when you had me like send you these files, right? It's like a long ass list of files in one whole like section.
Yeah. So this is October 12th, 1949. Mr. Maurice E. Hatton of 419 East Main Street in Circleville, Ohio. Dear Mr. Hatton, your letter dated October 8th, 1949 has been received, and in response to your request, I am returning it to you at this time. For your information, the jurisdiction of the Bureau does not extend outside of the United States and its possessions. It is therefore suggested that you may wish to communicate with the Division of International Press and Publications Office of Public Affairs, the United States Department of State, 21st Street and Virginia Avenue, Washington, D.C., with regard to the suggestion that you made in your letter. Sincerely yours, John Edgar Hoover. Note the enclosure is incoming letter being returned to correspondent at his request. Mr. J. Edgar Hoover, Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice, Washington, D.C. Dear Mr. Hoover, it is requested that this letter be returned to the above address and no record of it kept in the FBI files. No record of it kept in the FBI files. What are we reading right now? Crew.
It is true that
No. Listen, it states up here this man did not want this letter kept in the files, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are we reading right now? The FBI files. They kept the letter.
Mm-hmm.
It is requested that this letter. I mean, who would have guessed that the FBI would lie, return a letter, and not copy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, do you want to read this one?
Sure. It is true that the Soviet leaders intend to use the flying disc in an attempt to confuse and terrify the Americans, or the American people. Why should we not state to the United Nations that we believe this condition to
Exist.
exist, and further request permission from United Nations to fly American printed statements into the USSR in the interests of peace and better understanding between the two nations, to prevent the belief that such a method would be used, be either nation to carry bombs rather than paper. It should be pointed out that it is not necessary to employ airplanes or employ airplanes for the purpose
Insofar.
And so I hate it when they put words together. Insofar as actually flying over enemy territory is concerned, there are several possible means of
Placing.
placing. Their writing is terrible. Information at the disposal of citizens of either country via air. I mentioned small balloons incapable of carrying more than a few pounds or fend.
Yeah, finned. I don't know what the hell that means.
Me either. Cardboard discs capable of drifting on wind currents for great distance after release from several miles height. I reserve the right to claim patent rights.
Patent.
Patent.
Yeah, like a patent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So patent rights to the ladder. The
Ladder
newspaper.
flying newspaper. In as much
Yeah, you got it that time, bro.
as we have been told that the Communist Party is a very small minority in the USSR, it is impossible to prevent information printed from reaching many good people there if flown in by the millions. Of course, there would be a penalty in Russia for reading them if caught. By curiosity being curiosity, many would read and remember, and no one really believes that children could be prevented from picking up objects floating in from another country. Shall freedom of the pleas
The press.
or press be defended in some countries at cost in lives, yet denied across nations? The latter being contrary to United Nations principles? Question mark.
Yours sincerely, Maurice E. Hatton. So
Oh, I can't do any more of this reading. Their handwriting's shit.
their handwriting. Well, this is all done by a typewriter.
I know.
This isn't handwriting. This is all typewriting.
I
But
know. No,
that one's not that bad.
No, but it was still like they could have edited it saw what they did wrong
But-
and then redone a new one and fixed it.
But basically, he's talking about sending in giant cardboard things to fall from the sky to have children in the United Soviet, whatever, the USSR, Soviet states of Russia, the United Soviet states of Russia, basically flown in by the millions, and that would have some kind of information on it for them to read. I don't know. But on September 26th of 1949, Glenn Sprouse of 608 Montrose Drive in South Charleston, West Virginia, appeared at Charleston, West Virginia resident agency, gave Special Agent John E. Woodruff the attached letter. Mr. Sprouse stated that he had written the letter following a pleasure flight from Clarkfield, St. Albans, West Virginia, and Parkersburg, West Virginia on September 25th, 1949. Mr. Sprouse stated that after writing the letter, he did not know whether it would be of any interest to the FBI and decided that instead of mailing it directly to the Bureau at Washington, he would contact the local agent and turn it over to him if they thought it would be of interest to the Bureau. Mr. Sprouse stated that he has set out complete details of this incident in his letter and that there is nothing further that he can add. He further stated that he is certain that this is not a mirage and it actually occurred. No further action is being taken by the office unless specified to do so by the Bureau. So yeah. So basically these files are all they're all done by it's all done by people who claim to have seen flying saucers. And a
Yeah.
lot of them didn't want to directly give letters to the FBI, but passed it on to local agents because they either A, thought that they weren't going to be taken seriously, or B, they didn't even know if the FBI cared about the information that was being relayed.
Yeah.
So when we look at these files, crew, what do you think is the biggest telltale here that these saucers have actually been seen?
It's all hearsay.
I'll tell you what my biggest thought here is they have been seen because you have 1 million people writing to the FBI about seeing silver-shaped discs.
Right. But here's the thing, though. With it being the government, right? And they're like, oh, we're trying to find this person. We can't find them. Maybe because that person doesn't want to be found.
Well, the person didn't want to be found, but that was what's his name? Didn't want to be found or whatever. But I think basically a lot of these people just wanted to share their story because they were scared shitless.
Yeah.
They saw something that scared the crap out of them.
And then, of course, and I quote, they're pinpointing it at the Soviet Union because that's who they can blame. Because around that time, they were easily to blame because it was right around after World War II.
Well, and then they sent propaganda over to the USSR via giant cardboard circular things that would fall from the sky for kids to pick up and to read.
Yeah.
Which that's a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, way to send propaganda over that way. What did that have to do with the UFOs?
Right.
All right. Well, let's hit these 5 videos I have. No, it is 6. The 6 videos that I have right now, and we're gonna finish out this episode. This is a weird one you sent me about Eisenhower.
Here's what happened, Art. In 1954, President Eisenhower met with the Greys to abduct a very small number of persons that in exchange for advanced technology from the aliens, and we would be periodically given a list of those persons abducted. We got something less than the technology we bargained for and found that the abductions exceeded by 1,000,000-fold what we had naively agreed to. And when we first became aware of this, we protested to the little gray being that we held in the captivity at the YY-2 facility at Los Alamos. We found out that the Greys are cybernetic organisms, glorified robots, if you will, who work here at the behest of their employers, monitoring us through abductions. Here's what happened, Art. In 1954, President Eisenhower met with the Greys to abduct a very small number of persons.
So Eisenhower supposedly met with the Greys and told them that they could abduct a certain amount of people for technology.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is probable. And I can tell you that is a call into Coast to Coast. And that man was talking to Art Bell.
Right.
I don't know if I believe that necessarily, but I don't think it's incorrect either.
Right.
I definitely think that if those people were trying to call people, or not call, but trying to let people know about what the president was doing, that Eisenhower would have had to have been out of office before those calls were ever made.
Right. 100%.
Is what's happening now with some of those is that what's happening now with some of the scientists? I don't think the scientists are being abducted, but that's always it's always a possibility for the ones that just disappeared and nobody knows what happened to them.
Right.
But I think the scientists, I think some of them did actually unalive because they had information and they were scared. And then I think a couple of the other ones were taken out. That's my personal opinion. You know, those scientists, Julie, were working on anti-gravitational technology. And we know that now. So if they successfully created anti-gravity technology by re-engineering some kind of alien spacecraft, and they were going to tell the world about it, of course they're going to start disappearing, because that's something that people like Lockheed Martin and these other private corporations that work alongside the government would never want out. It would destroy the oil industry. It would basically let everybody know that free energy existed. And if free energy exists, then the power, the oil, all of that no longer matters.
Right.
And that would be a huge chunk of money that the governments around the world would miss out on.
Mm-hmm.
They would never let that information out.
Mm-mm.
Representative Anna Paulina Luna talks a lot about it.
That is true.
This is a funny one you sent me. It's definitely AI, but I wanted to play it anyways because if aliens were this tall, it would be absolutely epic. And I love that it says they're meeting with President Trump.
Right.
Could you imagine if an alien was really that big?
It would be interesting.
It does look like a gray.
Right.
It's just, in my opinion, it's way too big.
And apparently it's at Area 52.
Area 52. I didn't know Area 52 was a thing.
Me either.
I mean, it makes sense. If there's Area 51, there must be an Area 52 somewhere, and an Area 53, and an Area 54, and an Area 55. There's got to be numbered areas, right?
Right.
Pastor has come forward who was also at the meeting. His name is Larry Ragland. Check out the clip.
I did to come to a private meeting with a group of men who are connected with the intelligence world that are believers, but are still have very high security clearance. These are legit, true men of God that are still connected to Washington and even this current administration and all branches of military. And they literally told us, we had a sitting congressman, a very well-known congressman from Missouri. He called into that meeting as well. That was just for pastors. And this is what he said. On speakerphone, this sitting powerful member of Congress said, "Are the pastors listening to me?" I'm getting chills right now because this happened to me. He said, "Are the pastors in the room listening to me?" And I said, "Yes, sir, we are here." And he said, "Listen to me. Go and tell the church they are not ready for what is coming. The narrative that is coming, what they are going to say is going to be like nothing you can even imagine. They are preparing to tell us that they are from another dimension, that they are our creator, and that these beings, these aliens, or whatever you want to call them, they were the ones that seeded us here. There is no such thing as God. Jesus was invented by them. The Bible was invented by them." And begin to just say, listen, prepare the people for what is coming because they're not ready. But he loved us so much. He made sure that he told us exactly the blueprint to study. He said, study the days of Noah. And if you can understand how Noah responded, that's how you're going to have to respond. And I believe what God is doing in the body of Christ.
Why would they be telling us this now? Do you have people at church? Yeah, you're telling me that we're created by interdimensional beings and God is made up by them? What the heck? Daddy, are we going to get breakfast after this?
Well, look, as I said before, they have been pushing the narrative that the extraterrestrial threat is actually interdimensional, and these beings did seed us, and that's where we come from. That's been the narrative for a long time. Us conspiracy theorists have already theorized that 20 years ago. Okay, like we already said 20 years ago, there's a good chance the aliens created us. Why would they come out like that man said? Why is this happening now? Are these pastors lying? Did the government really come out and say this? Did this senator from Missouri really congressman from Missouri actually come in and talk to these guys, or is this all a hoax?
Right. Well, you will know what's even funnier. So I saw on TikTok earlier, right, about a movie where this Anunnaki guy talks to this lady and has her like cut off his restraints so he can prove that he's Anunnaki, and then he explains the origin of creation. And in that video, as he's explaining, and you can see the past of, during the dinosaurs' time, that monkeys, like small monkeys, right?
Right.
Not chimpanzees or apes, like the small monkeys, were actually Adam and Eve eating
Right.
some fruit that alien gave them. Like,
Right.
so apparently Adam and Eve were actually monkeys. That fuck up the truth of if that was even true.
Adam and Eve weren't monkeys.
But I was like, I saw that. I was like, okay, that's fucked up.
I'm not going to say that the United States or Canada or any of these other places don't have aircraft that can excel over 260 miles per hour. But I will tell you that some of the movements that these aircraft make, that these flying saucers make, would turn you into ketchup.
Right.
Okay? So unless it is completely anti-gravitational and goes off of basically interdimensional travel, you would be completely turned into ketchup.
Right. $100%.
Like there'd be no people in, you couldn't fly a person in that aircraft. It would have to be a drone.
Yeah. Because the speed, like being in a craft like that, and the speed it's going, like you'd have to literally like.
If you flew, say you're flying this fast going, or say you're flying this way going 260, okay? And then you abruptly make a turn this way, all of your body fluid is going to go this way, and your body is going to be going this way while all of your fluid's going this way. You do the math. What's going to happen?
You're going to combust.
You're going to explode.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole body is just going to, you're going to just be blood and mist everywhere.
Right.
1964 was the first official communication between our government and the aliens. 3 saucers landed there by prearranged agreement. It was filmed by 5 high-speed cameras, 68,000 feet of film. The reason we know this is because in 1972, when they were going to release the first information about UFOs to the public, a very knowledgeable writer, his name was Robert Emenegger, was asked by the agency to write a documentary, which he did. And they were going to release this thing, and we had the whole history of the UFOs, and the last part of the documentary was the footage of the saucer landing. April 25th, 1964.
What happened to that documentary? Where's the footage, man? Present the footage.
Right, I agree.
We need some real flying saucer footage, okay?
pastors across America just got a warning that you need to hear. Government officials pulled them into a secret briefing and told them to prepare for their congregations for something massive. UFO disclosure, crafts not from this planet, materials that defy known science, creatures straight out of a nightmare. And Pastor Perry Stone just went public with what was said behind closed doors, shaking evangelical circles to their core. So why are faith leaders being briefed first? And this is happening right now. And like your pastor, me already know more than you do. I want you guys to drop a comment. Do you trust what the government is about to tell us? Because I don't know if I do. Let's get into it. My name is Tom. I'm with the Daily Beltway, and I'm also a White House correspondent. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow. It helps us to keep bringing you folks the truth. So Pastor Perry Stone is a well-known Tennessee-based preacher with an international ministry. During a recent teaching session, he revealed something that has sent ripples through the Christian community. A large number of pastors were invited to an undisclosed state to meet with men from the United States government and other officials. These government representatives shared urgent concerns and told the pastors they need to prepare their people for what is coming. And Stone got a text from a friend who attended the meeting, and what he learned is absolutely stunning. Check this out.
I had a friend that sent me a text message. I was in a meeting, a weekend meeting, preaching Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. And he said, Perry, can you give me a call? I have some information that has come to my attention. Of course, when a friend of yours does that you know quite well, you have no idea what information they're talking.
I get calls like that all the time. Trump administration, other people that are in other parts of the government, friends that I've got in the DOA or DOW now, I guess I was going to say DOD, Department of War, and other places where it's like, we definitely can't post that. In some cases, other cases, we like wait 5 days or whatever we have to do. So things like this do happen. Everybody's like, oh, that's garbage. No, there are people that are doing things that are like, dude, you wouldn't believe the phone call I just had. Continue.
About. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but there were a large number of pastors that had been invited to go to a certain state to hear some men in the United States government and others share with them a concern that they had. And this particular man, and I'll not name him, and then we may end up doing some teachings with him or having an event at his church. He has a great church. But he said, Perry, what they're about to release, from what we're hearing, there's going to be a release concerning aliens and concerning unidentified flying object spacecraft, that some of the people who were in the meeting were telling us as pastors, you need to prepare your people and you need to get ready to answer them for what you're about to hear being released. And some of it has to do with crafts that have been discovered that are not allegedly a part of our planet, and the materials they're made of are not a part of our planet. Very strange reptilian-looking creatures and other things that almost sound like something out of a sci-fi movie or an Orson Welles book.
You know, I mean, the government's getting ready to disclose. I don't think we're ever going to have full disclosure of anything. I think we're going to get probably as close to what they can get away with giving us without giving away the house. At least that's my opinion on it. But that's a pastor relaying direct messages from government insiders to spiritual leaders. Pastors were told that there's going to be a release concerning aliens and unidentified flying object spacecraft. Officials discuss crafts that have been discovered that are not allegedly a part of our planet, made of materials that are from Earth. They also mentioned very strange reptilian-looking creatures and other phenomena that sound like something out of a science fiction movie. I don't know about the reptilian stuff, but I think they're probably the little gray guys, or they probably look just like us, maybe interdimensionals. A lot of my close friends say that there may be demons are from another dimension, and that's what we've been seeing. But this isn't fiction. This is what government officials are telling faith leaders to prepare for. And this comes amid years of escalating official acknowledgement of unidentified aerial phenomena, congressional hearings, and Pentagon reports that confirm the existence of objects defying known physics. And materials recovered from crash sites are undergoing analysis by defense agencies. And while no public disclosure of extraterrestrial life has happened yet, the timing of Stone's account raises serious questions about what the Trump administration may be preparing to reveal. Hopefully, it's less than $5 a gallon gasoline. But for conservative Christians, the implications are massive. Evangelical communities have long viewed UFO claims through a lens of scriptural caution, often interpreting such phenomena as possible demonic deceptions rather than proof of interstellar visitors. But Stone is positioning pastors as frontline defenders, equipping believers with eternal truths against whatever narrative the government might unveil. And conservatives have long been wary of federal overreach and narratives that could undermine traditional values. The idea that the government officials would brief pastors in secret about extraterrestrial life raises concerns about what else the deep state may be planning to reveal and why faith leaders are being giving advance warning. The call to preparation stands as a warning from the pulpit. Faith must anchor believers amid the unknown. And if you're a true believer in God, and there's an entire universe out there, and God created the universe, he created us, he created the plants and everything else, and all the other life. So it's possible we're not alone in our faith in the universe as well, whichever God you believe in. But in an era where the Trump administration has promised greater transparency, this whisper from insiders underscores the tension between national security secrets and the spiritual readiness of the American heartland. I want you to type in the comments, type in prepare as in we're getting ready for it, or we should probably, or type wait if you think we shouldn't disclose to the public now. Nobody's ready for it. And if you got value from this news update, tap subscribe, share this report. My opinion is next. I put out a video a little bit ago about some health stuff and why I haven't been posting as much. I want, if you guys can, check that out if you like. But here's what concerns me most. If government officials are pulling pastors into secret briefing and telling them to prepare their congregations for UFO and alien disclosure, that means the government knows something big is going to happen. And they know it's going to challenge the faith of millions, potentially billions of people around the world. Why else would they brief spiritual leaders first? And I think if I was the government and the Pentagon or the CIA, I would probably do the same thing. They're trying to get ahead of the spiritual and cultural fallout. The deep state has spent decades ridiculing anybody who questioned the official narrative. And now they are preparing to flip the script. What else are they hiding? What else have they lied about? Like free energy, maybe Nikola Tesla's research. Who knows? But pastors need to be ready to answer the hard questions. Families need to be grounded in truth. Our republic was built on Judeo-Christian values, and those values will be tested if this is true. So stay alert, share this report, and God bless each and every one of you.
I agree with him.
I do too.
And I think that it could be one giant hoax. And, you know, the military, or not the military, the government could be using this as a good way into Project Bluebeam.
Well, there's also, which I sent a video on it, where they're speculating that this could be one way to unite all governments into one.
Yeah, into one world government, which is the goal. They've always wanted that.
Which is end times prophecy.
But to be honest, man, one world government won't work because you need all the governments in the world to agree. You need all the people in the world to lift up and basically beg for one world government. That's never going to happen. I don't think it'll happen.
Probably not in our lifetime, but you know, it is Revelation end times prophecy. So
well, anyways, guys. Anyways, we're gonna get back up onto this tomorrow night. We've got a lot more to go over. Tonight, though, we are going to have to get off. I have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's already 1:30. I got to get on up and out of here. But before I leave, crew, as always, my brother, what is this?
this is the Venmo link to the Robert and Chris Show. If you'd like to, not I have to, donate so that way we can get stuff for the podcast or we can get travel costs for the podcast. Anything and everything for this podcast is only for this Venmo link.
Also, you can send money to that Venmo link so that we can afford enough money to send Crew back to Nibiru, where he belongs, with his people.
Oh,
with the UFO files being released, Crew needs to understand that we all know that he's a Nibiruian and he's not from this planet. So, Crew.
Look, hold up. If I was from Nibiru, would I be this skin color? No.
You're a reptilian shapeshifter, you lying fuck. Now, anyways.
My eyes aren't reptilian. Hello.
You don't have to be. You shapeshift.
I don't know how to shapeshift.
He's in the alien files, guys. He's that alien from 1949. But anyways, much love from the Robin and Crew Show. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Serial shadow scriptures in the woods, Project Blue Beam in the neighborhood. Over buildings with the impossible craft. We question everything, never looking back. Check over